I got the red light. Is it on? Good. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because of the record.
Okay. I'll call the Wednesday, August 31st, 2022 meeting of the Cumberland Planning Board to order. Attendance, Ms. Varshich.
Here.
Mr. McDonald.
Here.
Mr. Butler.
Here.
Mr. Scown.
Here.
Mr. Bush.
Here.
Mr. D'Ambrosia.
Here.
Mr. Costa. He's not here yet, or who knows. And Ms. Reese is absent. So before we begin, I'll make a small announcement. This meeting is also being held virtually on the Zoom platform. If you have any interest in an item on the agenda, we will turn on your audio and promote you to a panelist as the item is called. If you would like to comment or ask a question, please raise your hand by clicking on the little button labeled Raise Hand when the chairman opens the floor for public comment. Okay. So, moving right along. Approval of the planning board minutes of July 27, 2022. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions?
Make a motion to approve.
A motion by Mr. Butler.
Second.
Second by Ms. Varshich. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Director's report, Mr. Stevens.
Mr. Chairman. Great, thank you. Two items that I want to report on. Number one is tree grants. The town of Cumberland was successful in applying for a Rhode Island Infrastructure Municipal Resiliency Grant from the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank. The total was $250,000. The town's match is $61,000, and that will be dedicated to a tree technical consultant who will manage the technical aspects of the program and also serve as the tree warden and a number of assistant tree wardens. So that's a twofer for us, not having a tree warden. And so that project, the funding is dedicated to street tree planting in Valley Falls and Lonsdale. And it's the first time in my career, which isn't short, that street trees have ever been worthy of grants, but that is a pivot that the state's made to their credit. They're getting it out there. We're also going to adopt some DOT property and plant trees more trees on Broad Street, and this big island on Chambers and, help me, Jones? That big island right by the at the entrance to the town.
John Street.
John Street. Thank you. I'm a foreigner, so my geography isn't as good as yours. And then, in addition, we have a second tree planting grant. This is from the National Forest Service. It was done in conjunction with two other municipalities and a private nonprofit. And this is for a landscape restoration, quote unquote, that would benefit the Blackstone River. So it's much less defined. We have been promised 200 trees to plant. These are all native, hardy species trees. And again, this will also be managed by the same consultant that we're bringing on board. We anticipate that it will be Davies Tree Service out of Shrewsbury, Mass. And we're very impressed. They have a landscape architect and arborists that they bring to the table to design, put together the specifications, and to help us with the bid packages so that these trees can start to be planted in the spring and then in the fall of next year. Any questions? Okay, thank you. And then Arnold Mills, the town was the beneficiary of an $8,000 Rhode Island Historical Preservation and Heritage Commission, CLG grant. And this is to be used to hire a consultant, historic preservation consultant, to target Arnold Mills historic properties with the hopes that the property owners can be enticed to support or not oppose the establishment of a larger Arnold Mills local historic district. If that is successful and the council approves it by ordinance, then there will be a level of protection that includes the Historic District Commission having to approve any alteration, new construction, or demolition within that district.
Do I have any questions? Hearing none, moving right along. Item number 4, request for bond release. Project name is Promptman Estates. Owner and applicant Haley's LLC / Michael Menard. Location Haley's Way, Assessors Plat 27, lots 355 through 358. The applicant requests a release of the remaining bond. Mr. Stevens.
Mr. Chairman, as you can see, the memo from James Ento of the Engineering Department is supportive of this release because the maintenance period has been completed. There is one correction here that it's the town council that actually accepts streets and street extensions, but otherwise the town supports this measure.
Board, have any questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that based on Mr. Entow's recommendation of August 15th, that we release the remaining balance of the bond in the amount of $36,360.
A motion by Mr. Butler,
Second.
second by Mr. Scown. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes yes. Motion carries. Okay. Item number 5, request for master plan extension, project name Martin Street Development, owner applicant EA McNulty, Real Estate Group, location 24 Martin Street, Unit B, Assessors Plat 34, Lot 326. The applicant requests a master plan extension for cause. Mr. Stevens.
Mr. Chairman, the department supports this measure and would recommend that the applicant it mentions supply chain and pandemic as good causes, so we'd like you to satisfy your own curiosity as to how that applies.
Okay, and I assume you're the representative?
Yes. Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. My name is Bo Akers, counsel from Bransky Levinson on behalf of the applicant.
Do you have anything else to add at this point?
So the good cause, as Mr. Stevens just said, with the supply chain issues, the last 18 months, the land development industry, construction, what you have has had, it's been upside down for 18 months, pardon me. It's been challenging to get materials. We've seen as high as 40% increase in materials. Even if you have the money to start a project right now, you're also dealing with labor. And I think if all of us know, when you go out to any business you're at, it's hard finding work, especially in the construction industry. And our firm represents a lot of contractors and developments. I used to work in the construction industry. It was hard as it was, but this last 2 years, it's been extremely challenging. Now with the interest rates going up, like anything, there's cycles, and hopefully we're going to see a downturn in this unprecedented time when it comes to labor and materials. So the client would respectfully request the extension. I know it's the discretion of the board, but to see what happens this coming year, to see, to decide whether or not how we're going to move forward. But the goal would be that if it's starting to come down as it appears to be slowly, that over the next year, the applicant would like to do the preliminary and final at the same time when there are shovels that are ready to hit the ground.
Board, any questions? Mr. Butler?
I just had I vaguely recall this, but if you could just refresh my memory, was it a garage and offices or something? I don't remember specifically what the actual project was.
The project itself, if I recall, had to do with condominium in a mix of office space and commercial space and a garage and storage.
And it's over like behind Berkeley Mill.
Yeah, it's on,
that back area.
24 Martin Street, lot 236B. And on top of it, I would like to add that this request being granted, if so, it wouldn't put a strain on any of the, services of the town. And the project would be good for the tax base.
Mr. McDonald, you had a question?
I saw it in the memo, but it hasn't been mentioned for the record. It is a one-year request for a one-year extension, is that correct?
Yes, sir, for 1 year extension,
Thank you.
for good cause.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve a 1-year extension for 24 Martin Street, Unit B, Assessors Plat 34, Lot 236.
I have a motion by Mr. Butler. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Scone. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes yes, motion carries.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, members of the board.
Thank you. And flip the page. The next item on the agenda is Town Council recommendation. Project name Cheryl's School of Dance. Owner applicant CSC LLC DBA Cheryl's School of Dance. Location 48 West Rentham Road, Assessors Plat 52, Lot 343. The zoning is in a C1 zone. The applicant is requesting a recommendation to the Town Council to amend the conditions of ordinance 17-06 to allow arts education as a use on the property and to exempt the applicant from seeking a special use permit. Mr. Stevens.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, the property is familiar to you as it's been recently rezoned. It's 2.7 acres on Rentham Road, West Rentham Road. And so the petitioner is seeking to have a rezoning to provide a very narrow use opportunity that fits their business, which is a dance school. And we vetted it with them and felt that this arts education is consistent with the comprehensive plan, that a provision for parking that is consistent with preschool or daycare, since there isn't a parking spec for arts education, that is most comparable to what we anticipate their demand will be. And the properties certainly can accommodate this amount of parking. So therefore, the department recommends favorable action and feels that this is a sympathetic use as a business to an area that's largely residential, and also it meets the economic development goal of the comprehensive plan, which is to encourage the redevelopment and use of existing vacant economic assets.
Mr. Chairman, if I can just add to that, just
Yes.
because I'm looking at the ordinance with regard to parking, maybe we could add a line or recommend adding a line that says either this use shall have X number of parking spaces, whatever that number is, or this use shall comply with parking requirements for, did you say preschool?
Preschool.
One or the other. I mean, that, the parking lot's, in my opinion, huge, but I'm sure it can accommodate. Yeah, so whatever you, I mean, I don't know if they're gonna take up both floors or you are, okay, the whole building. So you don't have to worry about other uses.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my 2
No, I
cents.
like that because I had this similar thoughts when I was going through the application, knowing that there's a large parking area. And that are we going to be shoehorning somebody if we limited them to a very small number of parking spaces? So I'm in agreement with your suggestion. board have any other questions for Mr. Stephens?
I just have a comment that I think it's since a much less intense use than what was there previously, the restaurant, which was running later into the night. I think this is a much better use for the site in that area, which is primarily residential. So I'd be in favor of it.
Thank you, Mr. Butler. Any other questions? Okay. Representative, Mr. Partington.
Thank you, Chairman. For the record, I'm Scott Partington here for the applicants. As Mr. Bush has indicated, yeah, this is far less intrusive use than what's been there over the years traditionally. It's one of those, it's one of those areas in town that it's never seemed to have a good fit for many years. And the neighbors obviously were concerned about the, not only the hours, the noise, trash, sometimes things that are maybe a little out of hand late in the evening. And so when the applicants came in initially, I right away I thought this was going to be a great fit. As I discussed the matter with Mr. Stevens and Natasha sitting right over here, that's going to be one of the principals of the company. It's going to be running it. They've been in business for 40 some years. They've been located in North Providence. This is a real opportunity for them to come to Cumberland, and they have a lot of great plans for the building. No expansion. This time is going to be soundproofing. As once again, Mr. Monaco in his report has been extremely thorough. And by the way, I appreciate him getting this on, by the way. There are few time constraints here, so we sincerely appreciate the planning department's getting this on this agenda for your consideration. If you have any questions for the actual applicant, she is present, but I think it's going to be a great fit for this area, and hopefully there won't be any roadblocks. As far as the solicitor's comments with respect to parking, I did speak to Mr. Modica about parking, and Tasha was nice enough to get some information to me, which I gave to Glenn, about the fact that in large part, in her many years of experience, it's been more of a drop-off and pickup, as opposed to people are going to occupy all the spaces for any consistent period of time. So, but I don't see any issue, of course, with saying that either, we will have X number of spaces, or that we comply with, with the requirements for that particular, for the preschool.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure the council will pick up on that, and you'll, be at that meeting, so.
That's the only reason why I'm saying it is, there will be other zoning officials, there will be other, so you want to have it concrete.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree, especially where you have a situation where you don't have you don't have it nailed down in your ordinance. It gives maybe someone who comes along down the road room to move on that and to make an issue of it. So, and I'm sure that the new zoning ordinance is going to take care of and remedy all those situations. Thank you.
The board have any questions for Mr. Partington?
I do. I have a question.
Mr. Scone?
I'm sorry. Scott.
A lot of dance studios have recitals.
Yeah, good question.
So usually that's, would need additional parking and so forth if it was held at that location. Do you hold it at that location?
No.
Or will you
No,
hold
no.
it, I should say?
Wanted to come up? Yeah, that'd be great. If you don't mind, Natasha. No, it's
I
a
was
great question, Mr.
going to
Scone.
invite you up anyway.
I meant to address that. That is an important question because it does address the parking issue as well. Yeah.
Just your name, address.
Okay. My name is Natasha Estrada, and you said my address.
Yes.
Studio is
It's good enough.
okay. 1530 Mineral Spring Avenue, North Providence, Rhode Island. To answer your question, no, it's held at Professional Theaters. We are currently at GAM Theater in Warwick, but we usually go to Rhode Island College,
Okay.
so we'll not be on site.
Thank you.
And as long as you're up there, does the board have any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion from the board?
I'll make a motion that we send a recommendation to the town council that the proposed ordinance amendment meets the goals and purposes of the comprehensive plan. And we would recommend that they look at adding to the ordinance amendment language related to either the specific number of parking spaces that would be allowed, or have the applicant comply with the requirements for a daycare preschool parking spaces, and include with our recommendation of the town council, Mr. Monica's memo of August 24th, which lays out the findings of fact.
Before I go any further, does Glenn have anybody in the queue that has questions?
Hi there. No, it's very lonely out here virtually. Just me.
Okay,
But if I could just.
sure.
So,
I don't have a second yet, so
all right, just, perhaps so I understand it correctly, so it's, because I know that from memory, that the parking requirements for preschool daycare involve a number of students. There was a number of students and employees, if I'm not mistaken, right, Ms. Salvatore?
I think you're right. I would count the spaces and
Yeah.
maybe
and-
lop some off,
and-
or, you know.
Right, in other words, you're just saying, so that's why you gave me the either or. Either you have
Yeah,
X amount of
well,
spaces depending on
Because I'm
what.
just looking at it, I mean, I did talk to Glenn briefly about the parking. But as I'm thinking about it, I think you, for your client, you know, you want to have that number in there.
No, I absolutely agree with the idea. I want to make sure it was neither or, because if in fact, let's say, just for the sake of argument, that I know there are a lot of parking spaces there. If for some reason with the size of a class that it doesn't meet up, then at least we can, the council can make that determination. Thanks.
so maybe that's the way we should word it.
Yeah, I think I said or, but if I didn't, it's or.
Good the way it is.
They'll talk about it at the ordinance subcommittee,
okay.
and they'll probably make a recommendation to add specific language.
Okay. Sounds good to me. So I have a motion by Mr. Butler. Do I have a second? Second. Second by Mr. Ambrosia. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye, chair votes yes. The ayes have it. Good luck.
Good luck. Good luck. Congratulations.
Mr. Stevens, the next item is public comment. Do we have any public comment?
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to mention that we postponed the Franklin Farm item so that the association could take one more look at the suggested zoning ordinance amendment. So you'll probably see that next month.
Okay, thank you. So at this point in time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Hey,
Whoops. Mr. Bush, motion by Mr. Bush, second by Ms. Rashich. All in favor? Opposed?
Enthusiastically.
Ayes have it. Thank you.